Welcome back to Living with a Classic, and something really different today. This 1970 Morris 1300. It's an 8016, like the 1100 and 1300. This is a Morris variant. More on this car in a little bit. If you remember, a couple weeks ago, I picked up my latest project, my 1972 Rover P6 V8. And that was going to be part of my Trading Up series. I got a Renault Clio for free. I fixed that up, and with the profit, I bought the Rover. However, I fell in love with the Rover, and it's staying like a true car collector. However, I needed something else because I wanted to continue the series. The whole point of the Trading Up series was to start with no money, trade up to something interesting, and along the way, have interesting cars come and go on the channel. That doesn't work if you keep the cars. So this was sitting next to the Rover, and I gave the guy an offer, and he accepted. And then on the way home, I immediately regretted my decision. But now it's a couple weeks later, I feel better about it. So I have a film plan with this car. My wife is away at the moment. She's going to be back in maybe an hour or so, and it just arrived on the tow truck. I'm going to hide it down the extras and see it because I want to surprise her on her birthday with it, with her first Classic. And then I want her to be a part of the Trading Up series because she likes classic cars. She just doesn't really like my Jags. She thinks they're a little bit for old men, and I agree. I am, car-wise, I am twice my age. So she likes, kind of sporty things like Corvettes and things. But I can't afford that. But we could maybe trade up to one. And plus, I think this is really cute. The only problem is she doesn't like the color red, but we'll see how that goes. So I thought we could fix this up, get it running. She could drive it for a little bit, and then we sell it, and then we get something else. However, her birthday's in a week, and I thought it's a lot more fun to give someone a car that actually runs. I mean, it's not going to be finished. I want her to help me work on it. But let's see if we can get it running because the engine's seized. But let's have a look at it, look around it, and we'll push it in on dollies and start getting plugs out and see if we can get this thing running. It's been sitting in the same barn that I got the Rover from since about the same time. It's been off the road since 2017. The last time it was inspected was 2015, and it passed then, so that's really good. So it was in the way of the Rover. So the plan that my friend and I have, we tried to fire it up because he said he ran it about 3 years ago. We connected up the battery and it just clicked. Nothing happens. We thought, okay, low battery. I hooked up my jump pack, same thing. And then I went down and felt on the crank pulley and the engine is stuck. So we rolled it out of the way, got the Rover out, and that's when I got the idea of, hey, maybe I should buy this thing. So that's all I know. It probably ran 3 years ago, but we know how that can be. That can be 4, that can be 5. We don't know, but I at least know it was off the road since 2017. Overall, it's a red two-door, the black interior. It isn't perfect, but it doesn't seem to be a rust basket case, at least. It's pretty solid underneath. I haven't seen any major rust hole. There's one little rust hole on the other side. Other than that, not too bad. I think the chrome can be saved on it. It's complete. This is the little rust hole I found so far. We're probably going to find something else, but that's easily repairable. And other than that, pretty good. Plan is not to make this thing perfect. Drive it, fix some of this, which I don't know what this is. It feels very odd. It's something on top of the paint. So we're gonna figure out what that is. And then, just do a rattle can spray job or just maybe with my small compressor, just fix a couple things on it and have it look nice. But inside, it's pretty good. It has one tear in the seat. We're gonna see if we can do something about that. Door cards are very nice. I love the pattern on those and these giant door pockets. So this is basically just a giant Mini. Look at those seats. So that is the tear there. Someone's decided to color in the foam with a Sharpie. So we see if we can do a better job fixing it. Other than that, 4-speed manual. And I mean, very optimistic speedo. Goes up to 100 miles an hour. 160 kilometers an hour. That's pretty optimistic. It says 76,278 kilometers. That's probably 176,000, or I don't know. Maybe someone hasn't driven it that much. I don't think it has been restored just by the looks of it, but we'll have a closer look once we've washed it. But that will be once it's running, because then sometime next week, my wife will go away a little bit again, and then I can take it out and wash it without her seeing it. Have a look back here. It stays up. There's a spare tire down there. No real rot or anything like that. There's a little clicky-clacky pump over there with a filter, so that's good. I think this might be the original style fuel pump. These should have electric pumps. This is probably the original style one. On that car cover jack, we have a spare hubcap. It does have all the hubcaps and everything. And you see, no real rust to speak of here that much. Just a tiny bit bubbling right there, but I mean, these things, they rusted pretty badly. That closed nicely. Tiny little fuel filler cap. I guess people were kinder back then because it's not locked. These windows pop out. The rear seats are in really, really good shape. They even have seat belts in the rear. It's really cool. The one issue is I can't really fit in it because I tried to adjust the seat and it just goes forward, not backwards. So you have to lubricate that. So it got even worse. It's a little tight for me, but should be a nice, comfortable car. And let's have a look at the mighty engine in here. What am I doing? Oh, there we go. So yeah, the mighty 1300. I think it's like $12.98 or something. And then you had, of course, the base model was the 1100. And you can get the 1300, and you can get the 1300 GT, and then you had twin carbs. So that was basically the Mini Cooper engine. So this is basically that engine, I believe, but with one carb. So not too bad. But here, it's complete. Has a battery. We're gonna see if that actually takes a charge. That would be great. Otherwise, it's complete in here. I checked there's water in the radiator. We're missing the little shroud here. I can see if I can pick one of those up. Otherwise, I'll have to make one because they draw air. Or I actually don't remember which way the fan goes. If they draw air that way or that way, but it needs to be shrouded. I think it's this way. But yeah, it has oil in it. It's dark, but present. And these have the transmission and final drive and everything in the sump of the engine, so they share the same oil. And yeah, everything's really nice and accessible. Spark plugs are right there up front. It does roll. When we initially got it, the rear wheels were locked on, but it's drums in the back, discs up front actually. So they were completely stuck. So we might have to go for the brakes on it and do a couple other things. I'm gonna pick up a couple dollies. We'll move it in place, and then we can get the other cars in here and sort of hide it. And then we'll pull the plugs, put some sort of penetrating fluid in there, and ATF. Let it sit for a couple days, and then we'll see if this thing can turn over, and hopefully fire into life at some point. Just got some dollies here and the jack. While we do that, I might as well spray the plug a little bit. Just make sure that they're not difficult to get out. But yeah, a little bit of time constraint. I want to hide this thing before she gets home. Let's see if I can move it. Yes. No problem. It's a little tight, but it works. I measured before. You see, there is space there. I'll be able to close the doors. We have a Rover here. Good space. Still a little bit of space around it to fiddle about with this engine. So let me get some tools. I think I still have a little bit of time before she gets home. We'll get the plugs out and start getting some fluids in there. And then it's just a matter of waiting and letting this thing sit. I'm actually really happy with how it fits in here, because even if she were to look down here, even now with the doors open, you can't really see it in here. So that's really good. I mean, she'll see something red in here, but I don't think she's gonna look. So that's perfect. Let's see if we can undo these plugs. Yeah, it came out nicely. There we go. Let's have a look at what they look like. So they're dark, at least that one is, but the last time I started up was not the guy who owns the car, but the guy who owns the barn where it sat in. He just had to move it a bit. So it probably just ran on choke, and that would make sense. So far they're all even, at least. That one's even as well. So I'm going to start with this spray. It's basically like WD-40, and I'm not using it as a lubricant, I'm using it as a water displacement formula. That's what WD stands for, but this is not original WD. It's a knockoff brand, but we'll try it. It's what they have in the store. So this is just for getting moisture out. So I think that will be a good start. I'm gonna go get a little bit of ATF because that's really good at cleaning and lubricating if it's a little bit of carbon around the sides, maybe getting stuck on a little bit of rust ridge or something. But this will get rid of any moisture, and now we'll just get a little bit of ATF, put that in there, and then it's really just a matter of waiting and seeing and letting this thing sit for a bit. At least this is a method that I have liked to use when getting old engines unstuck. It depends how stuck they are. I mean, this one I know hasn't probably been stuck for that long. It's just from sitting in a slightly moist barn, but if you have something that's more severely stuck, then there are of course other methods, and maybe we will have to try those. These are tiny little cylinders, so I'm not going to put in too much. I need a little bit more than that though. Something bigger to pour it in. This cap. There we go. Just what the doctor ordered. Is this for you? Isn't this just such a cute little engine? It's so tiny. I love the way the A series sounds though. So I wanted a car with an A series for a long time, so this will be a fun experience. And the last of it for you. Alright, 4 little happy cylinders. We'll let those sit, and I think we'll try rocking it in gear because it rolls really freely. Clutch seems to work, so that could be a good way of getting it knocked loose. It's about 3 days later, and you know what? The battery is actually taking a charge. It has one of those indicators, and it was red and starting to turn green. I just had it slowly on a trickle charge, and it's starting to work. So maybe we can save that just enough to get this thing running. Maybe we'll get a new battery for it later. I have been a little bit busy with one thing, because I was looking around the car, messing around a little bit, and I discovered a couple things. It has an electric fuel pump in the back, which is a non-standard one. I found the standard one. We'll have a look at that. Also, I tried hitting the clutch pedal, and that felt quite stiff. So I thought, you know what, let's just punch a little bit harder. I did, and it moved a little bit. However, here is the slave down here. It moved this out, and yes, there's supposed to be a pin. I removed that. But then the clutch would not engage again. So I've lubricated and tapped it back. So now the clutch engages because I want to try and use the transmission and just the rolling of the car to get the engine to turn over. So that's what we're going to try in a little bit. I'll put a drip tray underneath in case we get some ATF spilling out. We just really want to see if this thing turns over. If it does, we'll get the battery, hook it up, see if it turns over with the starter. If we do that, I do want to disconnect the fuel pump back here. So this is the original style fuel pump, and see if we can rebuild that maybe. However, someone has loosely fitted another pump, probably get it going, it's just not even in there. I see a red cable there, which is probably positive. We'll disconnect that and put some tape around that so we can sort of turn the ignition on without having fuel at first, just to see if we get spark. But let's see if this thing rolls up. We'll put it in a second and push it, and hopefully the engine starts to turn over. So we're in gear now. I have the strip tray under here, and I think the easiest way to guys to see if it works is, you see the yellow fan here? If you see that moving, then that means the engine has broken free. I don't think it is particularly stuck because it ran like 3 years ago. I just think it was just stuck enough that the starter wouldn't turn it. So let us wiggle it a little bit. Oh, did you see that? It just bumped free. Oh, there we go. I can smell the ATF. I'll take it forward a little bit more. Now it is free. Okay, go a little bit more, and then we can hook up the battery and see if it actually cranks over. I haven't actually tested if this battery is any good or not, but I've charged it. So we'll see, otherwise we'll grab something else. We have a positive there, because there seems to be a negative ground car. And this battery does seem a little bit big for the car. 60, what is it? 285 curl cranking amps. Yeah, 60 amp battery, so that seems really good. And I'm going to turn the key and just bump the starter a little bit. I haven't put that much in, so hopefully it shouldn't shoot out too badly. But I am going to just set something out here in front of the engine so we don't hit the wall with ATF. Let's check that we're in neutral and see if we have any lights come on. That's a no. Absolutely, completely dead. I have a different battery fitted, so let's see if we have any dash lights this time. And I measured it, that's at about 12.4 volts. Still no lights. Oh, there's a little switch there. Wonder what that's for. Do you need ignition? No, you don't. That's strange. Someone has bypassed the ignition. Well, let's see if it cranks then. Nope. I need to figure out if I can see where it cranks. I think I found it. There's a little button right there. That sounded promising. Let's see if we can see it in there. Sounds like it's not engaging. Nope, it doesn't want to. I've tapped on it while also hot wiring it over here. It does spin, but it doesn't engage out. So we'll remove the starter, bring it over to the bench, and see if it's hopefully just easy fix of lubricating something up. But we'll take it out. This has to be the easiest starter ever to remove. You could really do it on the side of the road. But found the issue. This is supposed to be able to twist in here. It gets pulled in. It's quite corroded there. We'll put this in the vise. We'll clean this up with a wire brush. Get some lubricant on there. Start tapping away. See if we can get this part to start moving again. So start hitting it a little bit with a wire brush first. Some lubricant. I think we may need some love taps of the hammer. I believe this gets pulled inwards and then the spring takes it back out. Just being very gentle here with a punch and dead blow. Okay, see how it's actually turning? Now we can see there's a scroll in here, so it goes in that way. We can continue our lubrication. We may actually put some heat on it as well, but we'll try this. It has moved a bit, at least. I think we'll try heating up this part, see if that expands, and we'll see if it moves a little bit better. I'm hearing some old grease and things starting to catch fire. I think it's actually moving upwards now. Let's see if we can get some lubrication in there. I think we're going to move it and try and tap it back down again. It's moving a little bit. Okay, that went down. Let's try it again. Oh yeah, it's moving now. Alright, I'm going to do this back and forth a couple times, and then hopefully it's nice and smooth and it's going to work. It's still quite hot to the touch, but look at that. Look at the action on it now. So cleaned it up, polished this down here, and put a little bit of grease on it, not too much so it sticks, but just a little bit so that returns very nicely. I'm actually not even going to bench test it because it's so easy to fit. We'll fit this, and hopefully the engine will crank over now. Got the starter back in, and we're going to hot wire it down here again. Joe, this is not really recommended, but it's just because I want to see easily from here if it turns the engine or not. It does. That is great. Let's do that again and just see how much it shoots out. Alright, that's getting hot. But yeah, that works. We'll go inside, crank it over, see if it works on the button in there. The key doesn't work. That is a future thing, trying to figure out that, because It's as if someone's hot wired at some point because it probably has a bad ignition switch or something. So maybe we can get hold of another one. That would be really good. Put those boots back on. We'll crank it inside and see if we build oil pressure. Okay, switch that on. I'm guessing that one's probably oil, but we don't know. Let's see if anything happens. There's a little switch there. No. We are getting fuel gauge moved up a tiny bit, so there should be fuel in it. It's actually moving up more now. We'll try this one more time, and then we'll look up into the top of the engine to see if we see any oil up there. There we go. Came back on. Let's try it one more time. Yes, we have oil pressure. And let's check for spark. Everything's a little bit covered in ATF here now, but we can clean it off later. We're going to clean and detail the whole engine bay. But you can see here, that looks nice and clean inside. And points don't look too bad. We'll turn on the ignition and we'll see if we have anything sparking from the points over here. Just using a tiny bit of sandpaper here to clean up the points. You see, getting a little bit of dirt off them. They're not bad, but they were a little bit fuzzy. We'll clean them up and then we'll set them up on one of the lobes. Just make sure that we have a gap, and then we'll take a spark tester and check for spark. A simple way to check that the points are actually clean is if they're closed now, then there should be a connection on both sides. And there is. I have the car in gear. Let's rock it a little bit, just see if we can get it on a lobe. Okay, we're pretty much on a lobe there. Looks like they're open. We can of course check that. Oh, they're still open, so maybe just a little bit more so around that lobe. There we go. And yeah, they are still connected. So we don't have enough of a points gap there. It looks like we do. All right, there is a short circuit somewhere in the distributor. Okay, I've had this apart a million times, but I think I found the issue, and it's the coil. So nothing wrong in here, but I was suspecting an issue because I always kept getting a contact between here, even when they were open, and this nut was loose. So I took this apart, and as soon as I put this black one that goes out there to the coil on, they would short. So I disconnected the wire up there at the coil, and they don't short anymore. And if I connect that up again, I can get them to short from here to the body of the coil, which is metal. So there must be an internal short inside the coil. But let me go and get a spare coil and a little wrench to tighten that up. We should get this back up, and hopefully we will have spark now. I had an identical coil laying around, so I put that on, and now with the ignition on, you see that? it sparks at the points. So if everything is good with the rotor and the cap and the leads, we have spark. I cleaned these off just a little bit with a wire brush and some brake clean, so they should spark. When I do these sort of will it run things when they've sat, I don't really like to spend any money on things. I mean, no point putting new plugs in it if it has a rod knock, or no point changing the oil. It's fine enough to let them start up on it. In fact, it's a little bit better because then they start up with it, then you can get them up to temperature, and then you can drain it hot and get all of the old stuff out of there. So let's just tighten these down. So far, really liking this little A-series. Such little engines are so cute and so easy to work on. Okay, so let's see, we have the plugs leads here. And we got two more down here. Let's see, that one fell off a little bit. And we have number 2. And number 1. So now it's just a couple things left, such as fuel. I just want to double check that we don't have like a big mouse nest or something in here. And I think we're going to try starting it up on the fuel that's in it. I have a little bit of fuel in it. Hopefully, since this car ran a couple years ago, it should be fine. That is a very nice and clean filter in there. Put that to the side for now. And nice little SU over here. That seems to be working. Everything is loose. Down here, choke mechanism and everything. Just have a closer look. Yeah, throttle is loose and choke seems to work as well. So I think we'll reconnect the fuel pump in the back, turn on the ignition, see if we get any fuel up here, and if we do, see if it fires up. Fuel pump is connected again. Let's see if it works. It does. It's very loud, but it's not even mounted, just laying there loosely. Let's go up front and see if we're getting anything up here. Hard to tell. Switch it off and have a look at that little filter back there and see if we're getting any fuel in there. I see a little bit of fuel going through the filter now. This hose was pretty loose here. I'm going to do something about all of this later. But so it was sucking air somewhere. But at least I'm seeing fuel here now. Let's see. Oh, I hate this. We're going to have to put a stock pump back or something else. But let's see if we have any fuel up front, hopefully. Let's have a look at that. Oh, it's wet up here. So that's a good sign at least. I disconnected the fuel pump again just because it's so noisy. I don't want it to fall off in the back and leak. I'm still recovering from COVID, so I don't have a sense of smell. So hope I get that back soon, but until then, I can't even smell fuel. So we should be in neutral. There should be enough in that float bowl to be able to fire it up. Seems like this is a two-hand thing, but let's try. Where's that button? There we go. Oil pressure. There we go. Okay, we're getting nothing. Since I can't really smell if we have fuel or not, I don't like this. We're gonna go and get some starting fluid, spray it down, see if it fires on that, and then we know if it's a fuel issue or a spark issue. Let's open up the throttle. Give it some of this. And we'll see if we have any lease of life at all. Okay, there's that button. Don't think we're actually having any spark. Or that sounded like something. Now let's check for spark again. I have ignition on now. Just put a spark tester light in there. We'll do the hot wire thing again. Nope, we have no spark. I have ignition on now. I'm going to try not to get zapped, but I just want to see if we do have spark here. Yes, we do. Strange. That's really good strong spark too. It's a little corroded, but I mean it's not bad. Clean that off, put it all together again, and try again. I just cleaned a bunch of connections, put it all back together. Seems we have spark now, even when cranking. So let me crank here. Yep, there's spark. Let's try all of this again. Ran the pump for a little bit. I also tapped up here, and it did sound like there was fuel coming up here. So we'll try this again. Pump is not sounding happy, so we need to do something about that in the future. So unplugged it again. Ran the pump for a little bit. I also tapped up here, and it did sound like there was fuel coming up here. So we'll try this again. Pump is not sounding happy, so we need to do something about that in the future. So unplugged it again. So let's give this a shot. Choke out. It lived. A little bit of smoke out the back, but let's try it again. It's really that I couldn't hold the choke out. Let's connect up the pump, even though it's super noisy, and we'll just run it for a little bit. See if it starts up and runs a little bit longer. I think we're low on fuel as well. I think to go pick some up and do something about this pump situation. But let's turn off the ignition, connect up the pump, try everything again, and this time hold the choke out a little bit more. It definitely needs a new choke cable or a little clothespin. Let's try it again. I put some... Yes! We are running now. It's sounding pretty sweet. Not blowing out of the exhaust anywhere. Not tapping or anything, sounding really nice. But that was a really successful first start. It runs well. It doesn't sound very tappity at all. It wanted to idle as well. I just think we have a fuel delivery issue. I think the pump is not happy. It might be actually low fuel in the tank because it seems to pick up fuel every now and then. It shows like less than a quarter tank, but it might be completely empty. So I'll go grab some fuel. I also want to do something about this. I mean, I do want to put the original pump in at some point, but just to get this, I want it to be running and driving for her birthday. You know, not on the road, but just around the yard. I gotta make something up to mount this. We gotta do something better. Replace that filter because I think that's also plugged. And I think it's sucking air somewhere. So I got some things to do, but it runs, it drives. I'll go get those things, get this thing running better, and we'll take it outside, wash it off, and then it's pretty much ready to surprise her with in a couple days. All right, before you guys say anything, I want to emphasize this is highly temporary. We just want to get this thing running. I do want to get the original pump in there. So this is just for yard driving. So I got the sponge here, so hopefully it doesn't vibrate that much. I replaced the filter. The old one was really, really dirty. So maybe there's a blockage in there. And I also just put a better clamp on there. So hopefully everything's tight now and it's gonna work. I've also picked up some fuel over here, so we'll fill up a little bit. You can see the fuel gauge works then. And if it fires up this time, we'll bring it outside and clean it off. And then we'll also see if it actually goes into gear. And then we're pretty much ready to surprise my wife with it in a couple days. Before we try to fire it up again, I just want to show you guys, I'm not sure if I showed it before, but yes, there is coolant in there, so that should not be a problem. There we go. Battery's connected again. Let's turn on the ignition and see if the pump pumps any fuel. Oh, that felt like it took some fuel. Yeah, I can see fuel there in the filter. You see the line there? Well, I'm hearing some stuff up here. Let's see if there's anything on the ground. Nope. Nothing. Check for the leaks back here. Everything seems nice and good. Let's see if it fires up. Okay, we'll try and do this one-handed. See if we can get the choke to stick. Yeah. We are in neutral. Yes. Let's see if the fuel gauge goes up a little bit more. That's sort of where it was before. Let's see if the accelerator pedal works. Yes. Idle, but we'll switch it off and get those dollies again, move it outside, or you know, so we can drive it outside, see if the gears work. I have gotten the clutch to actually seem to work now. It wants to go back as well. Haven't touched the brakes yet. We'll try those a little bit later, but we'll move it outside and give it a wash. Move it over on the dollies, so it should be ready for it to roll outside. I want to let it warm up outside, and of course clean it up a little bit. Try to just clean this up a tiny bit just so I can see something. But now it's the moment of truth. Do we have any gears? Do we have any brakes? Any clutch? Any, you know, all of that. So this doesn't do anything, but let's roll it forward so we don't have the steering lock on. Neutral. It's charging everything. Let's see. was a gear. Ooh. We're moving. Yes. And the brakes feel stiff, but something did happen. Let's actually try, because we're on a hill here. Let's see if it rolls backwards. Alright, so the brakes do actually seem to work pretty well. We'll move it over here onto the grass so we can clean it up and we'll let it warm up a bit. I'm interested to see if the temperature gauge works, but we have first, and and could that be reverse? Yes. We do have brakes. First. Perfect. Should we? I guess we'll try it. Seems to work. Alright, let's let this thing warm up for a bit. It's a little smoky out the back. That's to be expected from sitting so long. Wetness around here, but not excessive. I think I do have the top gasket for one of these laying around. Alright, so it is that way. Goes to the radiator. That's interesting. We're running in all cylinders. Yes, it's like for charging. I'll grab a multimeter. Car's lights out at least. Quite a bit. Hopefully that will clear out. Temperature gauge I think is moving a little bit. Let me get a multimeter, we'll see if this thing's charging. Just turned the choke off. Man, is that a sweet little idle. 13.2. So we're charging, and I think we're coming up to temperature, but run a little bit longer. I want to see if the thermostat opens up. That is still a little cold. We'll wait for that, and then we'll give this thing a wash. Thermostat is opened up, so temperature gauge is working, and it's running very, very sweetly. I'm going to turn it off and put on the air cleaner, just so we don't get any water into the engine. Let me clean it off, but let's actually see if it wants to fire up. Just oh, that's a sweet little engine. Had to be a really quick wash because she's going to be home in a couple minutes. Also, the whole detail process we'll do later. I want to involve her with all of that, polishing up the chrome. Maybe we have to paint some of it. So it'll be a little bit of a project that we do together. But it looks a lot more presentable now. Definitely doesn't have great paint, but we'll see how much we can polish up of it and see how much we need to touch in and do. But it runs now, and that's the most important thing. We can move it around the yard. She can sort of get to hear it run, experience it, and it's pretty clean. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean up the seats a little bit. There's some, mildew mold thing on the rear seat. Just clean that up so it looks a little nicer and is a little fresher. But otherwise, I think we're pretty much ready for the big reveal in the next video. Anyways, that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed something a little bit different. But we're doing the trading up series on here, so there'll be a lot of interesting classics. This is just the first of them. And like I said, I want to involve my wife in this because she said there is a classic she wants. That's a C3 Corvette. Can't really afford a C3 Corvette, but maybe we can trade up to one, and that will be fun, and also involve her in all of that. Anyways, if you like this video and want to see the next part when I surprise her with it in a couple of days, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Anyways, until next time, I'm Adam. This was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.